What is up, my friends? We are back for, I guess, a bit of a roundup after today's defeat by the hands of Manchester United, at the hands of Manchester United by 3-2. Liverpool's 18th or 19th defeat of the season, depending on whether you take the Charity Shield as an actual match or not. But ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, there was frustration all around today. We were second best for long parts of it. Yes, we did have some moments of success in the game. Man United definitely gave us a helping hand in that fact, but tonight I wanted to just come back on for a bit of a debrief and see how you're all feeling after the game and what your thoughts are. For our first poll question of the day, I thought I'd lean into the whole midfield scenario and ask, should Liverpool sell Alexis McAllister this summer, in your opinion? And I'm not trying to take cheap shots at Alexis, it's a genuine topic that has come up quite a bit, and I wanted to just ask what you guys think about it. So tonight, again, get it off your chest, say what you need to say. If United fans come in to banter us, unfortunately, we're going to have to take that with a little bit of good grace, because you win, you gloat, you lose, you suffer. That's the way it is. So, yeah, look, I won't say I've calmed down a little bit since earlier on. I'm not at all calm, but I'm not surprised either that we lost the game today. I didn't really have too many high expectations coming into it outside of wanting the boys to perform. And as weird as it sounds, to some extent, I seen some good things there. And I know I'm sounding a bit like Arna here at the minute, but I did see some good things there at times, but it was from a handful of players. I think Dominic Szoboszlai can certainly hold his head high after that game. Rio, well, it just reminded us why he should have started it. I'm never going to say anything negative about Freddie Woodman because he's walked into a tough situation. But, the same faults, the same areas, the same concerns we've had all season are laid out there yet again. And the situation at right back is one that we really have to get to grips with this summer and come up with a proper solution for. Leach, how are we, my friend? Appreciate you being in. 32 months with us as well, honestly. We're stuck with slot for next season with this rebuild. They keep saying over and over again. Much love, Craig. Hope you are well. Well, look, tonight's title of the stream was about FSG, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to make this decision. Even if they're putting it to Hughes and Edwards, it's still FSG's decision. And I don't understand, Leach, how a footballing person could look at that and think it's acceptable. For the season, I mean, as a whole, there is no justifiable reason to keep him in a job other than hoping for the best. And with all good intent, I don't think that's going to happen. We just have the same issues. We're still defensively porous. We've conceded 17 goals from set pieces this season, not including penalties, which again is a record going back to 1992-93. There's been so many times this season we've spoken about records going in the wrong direction, and I'm frustrated by today, but again, like I said, I'm not really surprised. Worried about Wirtz, Craig, goes missing too much. I understand the guy. I might be wrong on this, but I'm giving him this season to settle in, and next season, for me anyway, certainly the criticism comes then if he keeps performing like this. When we signed him, I did expect a period of settling in, but I'm not going to lie, at this point I would have liked to have seen a little bit more regards to improvements from him. And today again, he was nowhere. I mean, I dread to think where we would have been if Szoboszlai wasn't on the pitch, as an example today. I mean, if he wasn't there, who knows how that game would have gone. Yeah, he's probably the only one that can hold his head up really after that performance. Even Andy Robertson, I thought today, was a little bit disappointed, but United have pacey wingers who take on men, and you see what that does to fullbacks. We don't have that, which makes it even more egregious, isn't it, that we didn't see Rio on either at the start or at least sooner. Phil said, Rio's a liability defensively, understandable at his age, but not playing Rio as someone to hammer slot with is not right. There are plenty of other things to hammer slot about. So, look, you've raised a fair point, Philip, and that side of his game is definitely lacking. I'm not going to push back on you in that at all, Philip. And you've been more than fair about it as well, mate, when you've said understandably. I still think, though, I'm not bashing slot with it. I'm not using it as a way to bash him, but I genuinely think it would have been an ideal time to give him a run out today. Maybe he does lack a little bit defensively. Maybe you do have to cover a bit more there, Philip. That's more than fair. But at the other end of the pitch, which is where he does, the damage for us, I just think he could have given us another look today, mate, and something a little bit different. But we didn't see it. We didn't get it. And again, like you said, there are defensive things that he needs to work on. I'm not going to push back on that at all because it's absolutely spot on. Eddie said, I'm not going to say anything, my opinion. And I'm with you, Eddie. You and me, mate, we both agree. I just can't bring myself to not watch Liverpool next season, But I can bring myself to not spend. And that's, like I've said before, that's all I've got left, mate, is to come on here every week, chat with you guys. But I'm not spending a penny until the club actually show us that they give a shit. Because it doesn't feel that way at the minute. There's just too much accepting of mediocrity this season. And I mean it from the media, I mean it from our own club, I mean it from our captain. There's just nobody really taking accountability for the situation, and at least Dom is trying, and I will give him credit for that. I would accept anything 40 to 60 million to get Trent back. Didn't realise how much we'd miss him. The move hasn't helped him or us. Hope you're well. Look, the Trent situation was one of his making. So I'm not going to blame the club on that, other than saying I think they were maybe naive, allowing the situation to get to that point. And they said that they didn't want to push it with him when Klopp was leaving, but they could have pulled a fast one on him and got him to sign a new deal and then announced Klopp was leaving. The club decided not to do that, and that's, again, maybe understandable. But, look, we need to sort out right back. It's fucking frustrating seeing a right back being a midfielder over and over again and over and over and over again. And for all of Curtis Jones' good attributes, and he does have a lot, he's not a right back, and he's going to make mistakes in that position because it's not his natural position. And today I think we've seen some of that as well. Thundercats Litterbox said, been mediocre for over a year. We're going to keep Slot, fire him in November, and Jobby will be crushing at another club. Sounds about right. It does. Sounds about right. Sounds about what I expect to happen. I don't know what else to say at this point. There's nothing I can say on the manager that you all don't think and have already said multiple times. Let's just really quickly remind everybody of what Mohamed Salah said in his interview this week when he was shown that lovely little montage about his career at Liverpool and so many kind messages. This is what he said to everybody at the club. I remember when I came here first, I think nobody was working before training. I'm not saying nobody was working, but Millie, Adam and Sadio were working after training. If I'm mistaken, please forgive me for that. But I came and I want to work before training. I want to work after training. I want to work all the time. And then they, the players, also work before training. This is the thing that always makes me happy. This is something that makes me so proud, and something, if I'm being very honest, because I love this place so much, I have my best years. I really want the guys to continue like that, working hard all the time. I always tell Dominic Soboslai, if you win the Premier League every year, you take nothing from me. Just like I done my thing here, but I want the guys to succeed. I want the club to be there, and this is one of my main concerns. I spoke to a member of staff. I spoke also to the guys up there. I told them, when I leave, you need to be an example here. You need people to come early to the gym and people to look and go, oh, he goes to the gym, so I need to go. If that didn't happen or doesn't happen, I think it'll be very tricky for this club because it's something very, very necessary. You put the high standard, having people come early, people have to go to the gym, people have to look after themselves, and I don't want that to change after I leave or anything. I just want to have the standard at the club because it's very important for the team to keep winning things, and this is one of my main concerns. Now look, you can take a lot from what Mo said there. You can take it that he's trying to inspire the players, he's trying to talk about keeping up the standards, but I also look at it and I hear concern for the future. And again, it's no surprise he's leaving because he obviously clearly feels that standards have not been maintained this season. And who can blame him? Who can blame him? If you're doing your bit and you're going early and you're working on it, and granted, he might not have had his best season, but the fall off from last year to this has been extraordinary, and it's been too quick. And it's been glossed over way, way too much. I don't understand how we've got to this point where so many people, and I'm not talking about our community, but I mean so many people are just happy to make excuses and just in any way deem this acceptable. It isn't. It hasn't been and it won't be. This is Liverpool Football Club. We don't accept 18 defeats in a year or in a season. You just don't. The club being naive, the club are neglecting their duty to the fans of the club. If FSG wants out, takes a lot with them. Never felt so lost with the club. Yep. And it comes back to that one word, communication. Communication from the owners who, whenever the shit hits the fan at our club, everybody disappears. The owners are nowhere to be seen. Hughes and Edwards aren't there fronting up. All it is briefy, snidey little messages to the media. Don't say anything negative about the club. Continue to back the manager and hope it all gets better. At this point, I don't think it's us that's being delusional. I think it's them. You can say that we're angry and we're ranty and all that other stuff, but I think as Liverpool fans, we've every right to be felt let down by this season. And let down for not just the way it's gone with regards to the performances, but by so many times we've capitulated. So, like, we worked hard to get back into that game today, and yeah, we got a bit of luck, but yet again, we concede late and lose. And it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point, and it's not something I want to be happening at Liverpool Football Club, and I dare say it's not something anybody wants to be happening at the club. Craig, it's being reported that we've given up most goals since Souness in 92-93, one loss away from our worst tally ever. It's not wrong. It depends. Look, I don't count the Charity Shield as a loss, and I don't count it losing on penalties. But if you do count that, it's 19. If you don't count that, it's 18. But ultimately, yes, the numbers are horrendous this season, and we are defensively a shambles, and we're conceding way too many. 72 goals conceded. 72 goals this season. That's fucking shocking. And it's the worst since 1992-93, as was mentioned there. That's not acceptable. 17 from set pieces. And they were all very happy to throw Aaron Briggs under the bus and let Arna off with that as well. But what's his job? What's his title? Head coach. So any coach that's below him, whether it be a set piece coach or a fitness coach, they work for him. Their failures are his failures. But again, he gets away with that. Sack Aaron Briggs. Now it looks like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is going to disappear. So we could be on to the third different time we've appointed an assistant manager in 3 seasons. Fucking brilliant this, isn't it? That's continuity FSG, isn't it? Itachi said, "Hi all, we have players like Maka who at the minute block the place for another player, a better player. We also can't get the best out of our expensive ones, Wirtz and Isak, as long as Arna is here. But back him." I know. See, here's what makes it so frustrating for me, Itachi. We've got this guy, Alonso, who I will openly say will have concerns if we bring him in. There are things that I'd be concerned about, but we've got this guy. And what do we need right now? We need somebody to restore belief back into the team. We need somebody to understand how to get the best out of Wirtz, how to get the best out of Isak, how to get the best out of Frimpong, how to get the best out of that Liverpool team. And we know for certain that he knows how to get the best out of Wirtz. We know how he will set it up to get Florian feeling more comfortable. So why is this even a conversation? I don't get it at this point. You know, if you wanted to give him the season, I still disagree with that. But if you wanted to do that, okay. But now it's clear. You know, I looked back to the results this season, and some of them were absolutely pathetic. And today, he'll say we control the game. I'll say bullshit. They still had more shots on target. They scored more than we did. And they took their foot off the gas. It's just, I don't understand how they can look at this and think that it's going to get better. Stevie Boy said there's multiple reasons for Mo leaving the club, but deep down he knows Slot is staying. And I don't disagree. You know, he's basically come out and said as much. That there are issues with the club and people don't know everything about it. You know, he's basically warning us for the future. And what gets me is, why are they allowing so much proven talent to go to back up Slot? I really don't get it. Like, on a basic level, as somebody pointed out earlier on, and as we've said many times, how the fuck do we go from this 6-month search to a guy who's supposed to be like Klopp, not as a human being, but in his footballing beliefs, to this? And it seems like nobody wants to ask the question in the media of that 6-month search that you did that showed up. Like, there's two things that the recruitment has apparently showed up that make no sense to me. And you can go back and cross-reference and check these yourself. I'm not making it up. They told us that on data, that Ekitike and Isak were almost a mirror of each other. They said that when we signed Ekitike. They said that looking at the numbers, they're almost a mirror of each other. Now, they couldn't be fucking further apart as players. And secondly, they said that Arne Slot looked at Arne Slot's numbers, they looked at the way he played, and he overachieved, he kept players fit for longer, and he plays a similar brand of football that won't see too much upheaval at the club. Again, where is any of that? But nobody seems to want to talk about that. Nobody seems to want to say that maybe they fucked up this recruitment. Because I tell you how I feel, and I'm not alone, it definitely feels like we won the league because he could keep them a little bit fitter for a little bit longer, and the remnants of the Klopp era fitness and aggression was enough to get us through. And when he gets to put his own stamp on it, this is how bad we look. This is how disjointed we look. This is how far off we are. And he hasn't rescued it, or even looked likely to. What I seen today when the players reacted somewhat was players playing for the badge. It wasn't because of a masterclass from Arne Slot. It was because the players wanted to go out there and put in a shift. And they were embarrassed by the way that game was going. That's what I seen. Not a tactical masterclass, nothing from the manager to change it round. I seen players who wanted to put in a shift because they knew how bad that could get. And even still, that wasn't enough in the end. Do you think Schmadtke signings all need to go? No, just Maka. And I'll explain why in a second. I just think I might have missed a chat from somebody. This one from Banong. Playing the same failing players over and over is stupid. Zero, genuinely hate this manager. He makes my weekends boring. Nothing to look forward to. Sack. You echo how I feel, Banong, mate. Apologies I missed that one initially, bro. But yeah, you echo how I feel. You know, I don't look forward to watching us anymore. It's almost like I'm watching us out of duty because I'm a Liverpool fan, but not with the same excitement or anticipation. So on the Hypocritics comment, look, Maka, but I've been talking about selling Maka since last summer, and it isn't because I don't think he's a good footballer. I just think if you're going to refresh midfield, he makes the most sense to me because he's at an age bracket now where he's in the prime of his career, but we can see he's not the same player as last season, and I just think it would make sense if you're looking to refresh a bit to move him on and bring in a deeper line player. The Curtis Jones situation is one that's down to Curtis Jones and the club to figure out, but if they can't, it looks like he could go on. So that's the only one for me from the midfield trio. Maybe Endo, of course, as well. That's it, you know. We just need to bring in two deep-lying midfielders, and what I don't want to happen is what's going to happen. Them backing him in a rebuild that won't work for a different manager. Because I don't know anyone that thinks he's going to figure this out next year. I don't. Man, besides everything that's happened, I really miss Trent and Lucho. Look, I was heartbroken that Trent wanted to leave. I was. Heartbroken. As a Liverpool fan, to see a local boy that we've all idolised kind of just run down his deal to go, it never sat right. So I struggle to say I miss Trent, but I can see how the team misses him. Lucho, yes, obviously. That's there's no debate on that one. We didn't replace him, and that's cost us. Harry, how are you, my friend? Said, hey, Craig, commiserations. When you got the second goal, I thought you'd win. About accountability, I think directors of football are people who would be awful managers that don't want the responsibility for results or don't want to be responsible for results. So, Harry, here's what I don't get, right? Now, you're a United fan, so firstly, mate, congrats on the win today. And I won't lie, dude, when we got it back to 2-2, I thought we might push on and win it as well. But we didn't, and Manu scored a good goal and you guys won. And on the director of football thing, I struggle, mate, as a Liverpool fan, to get my head around one really simple thing with Richard Hughes. He came from Bournemouth to Liverpool, a move that I think anybody would say is a huge step up for anyone's career, whether you're doing it as a player, a director of football, or a coach. Huge step up. But on day one, he let it be known that he only wanted to do a 3-year cycle. Unless the Telegraph or whoever it was in that article absolutely lied through their teeth about it, that was the conversation from day dot, that he was only coming in for 3 years. Now that I don't understand, because you would think somebody like Hughes coming into a club like Liverpool from Bournemouth would be absolutely chomping at the bit to be part of an era of success that he would get a lot of credit for. So I never understood how he was so insistent on only doing 3 years and going. So that has me confused. And also, we've had issues around the director of football. And by issues, I mean just a churn of how many of them. Now, there's been some success with them. And Michael Edwards initially did a really good job in helping Klopp build out that team. But we've gone through a lot. In the last, I want to say 6 years, we've had 4. Which, for a club like Liverpool, doesn't scream stability. And again, we talk about Slott's contract and some of the players leaving. What happens again, like halfway through this year? Are we going to hear who the new sporting director is? Then there's going to be the process of them bedding in. And it just all screams more headaches and not continuity, which you want at a football club. We've talked about the director of football role and how important it is in modern football. You want somebody in there for the long haul, setting the team up for the future, bringing through the younger players, setting the style of football right the way through the club, dealing with the contracts. Ben Palmer said, it seems that looking at numbers is all they do, starting to question if they actually watch any football or just study spreadsheets. I've said this for a long time. There's a place for data in football. Of course there is. And there's always an edge to be garnered and there's always something to show up. But I think sometimes you go too far with it. And I think that this insistence that these are all super geniuses, I think sometimes they lack a bit of common sense. Because I don't need numbers to tell me that the will isn't there from the players to back the manager. I don't need numbers to tell me that Slott's not able to motivate this team. And whatever they are seeing, they aren't communicating that to the fan base. All we get, and this is basically it, is shut up, watch the football. If you're toxic or in any way negative, we're lumping you in with the social media law. And that's it. Just shut up and watch the football. And everybody just trips over themselves to tell us how great and how much of genius these guys are. I'm not fucking seeing it. Because some things are just common sense. Am I wrong? Seriously, am I wrong? These lads don't have to answer to anybody except the owners. And that's dangerous. Because the power that these guys have to not have to explain themselves to a fan base, I feel is neglectful. And I feel it's wrong. And again, like I've said, it's Arne Slot that gets wheeled out there every week to take the brunt of all this shit. And sometimes I feel sorry for him. Because if we're talking about how the team's set up to play, cool, that's on Arne. He has that conversation. But if we're talking about contracts, player recruitment, and some of the failures there, well, I want to hear from the director of football. I want him to sit up there and answer the questions about recruitment, about the contracts running down. So as much as I have many issues with Arne, I have a lot of issues there as well, as a fan. Dave Sharple said, pulling my hair out, my fringe is now at the back. Oh, Dave, I'm just glad I shaved my head at this point, mate. I don't have any hair to pull out because that today was... It was horrible because I let myself dream a little bit when it got to 2-2. I thought, oh, are we going to do this? And I certainly didn't feel from that point we'd go on to lose the game. But as has unfortunately always been the case this season, we find a way to capitulate towards the end. PGMOL accepts the handball. Typical. Look, I mean, I've tried to be as fair about that, Tony, as I could with the handball, because there's two ways we talk about this. If we talk about what Sky showed, then it shows it's a handball. There's no argument there. But what we've seen at the VAR monitor and the information being relayed, if that's the only thing that they have to make the decision on, then I don't want that goal being ruled out, because it's a farce. And there was no conclusive evidence until we seen the Sky zoomed in one for the handball. I think it was inconclusive. But I guess the question is, how do Sky have that technology but VAR don't? That's something that we should have a conversation about. But I don't want to come on here with sour grapes and try to find reasons to blame other people for why we lost today. We can look at this a different way. If Amad Diallo didn't pass the ball to Dominic Szoboszlai, we mightn't have got that first goal. If Lamont didn't play a ball straight out to McAllister, we wouldn't have got the second goal. So, you know, they gave us chances as well today. And they helped us back into that game. They were their own worst enemies for letting us back in. But we just didn't see it through and didn't build on it. And I think the substitutions, especially with Rio, came at least 15 minutes too late. You know, when that game got to 2-2, I think we had the momentum at that point. And that's where I'd love to have seen Rio brought in immediately. Because United looked worried when he got on the ball. And look, their wide players caused us no end of problems. Andy Robertson, who's had a very good end to the season, he was turned inside out. And we just couldn't deal with it. And Curtis Jones kept, trying to get forward at times. But then when they did turn us and get in behind us, their third goal came down that side again. It's just disappointing. And you see, like, I said it before the game. We want to make sure we're marking Harry Maguire and Casemiro from any set pieces in the game. And then what do we see? Casemiro free and gets a header, an uncontested header, that thankfully for us was straight at Freddie Woodman. Bruno Fernandes gets a free kick on wide left position. Liverpool line up on the edge of the 18-yard box. Bruno goes to strike and everyone starts dropping towards the penalty spot. He plays a pass, gets the ball back, and then he fires it into Cunha's feet. And Cunha has 5 yards with no Liverpool player around him. I mean, these things are fucking pathetic. And that's basic bitch defending. Connor, thank you. Appreciate you, Connor Carey. So look, we defended awfully again. And, the set piece number for this season at 17 is awfully bad. Like, it just is. Billy said, I know we've injuries, but is there any justification on why Slot is completely playing players out of position? Jones at right back, well, we had Frimpong, just doesn't make sense. And why not play Rio? I don't know. Let me just check something. Sorry, bear with me 1 sec. I just want to go back and check something. Okay, so Joe Gomez was also on the bench today. So we had the option to play Joe Gomez at right back. He had the option to play Frimpong at right back, but he didn't. He played Curtis Jones there. And he's played midfielders at right back way too often this season. So there's only two ways you can look at this as a Liverpool fan. Either they didn't trust their own recruitment to bring in Frimpong, which, by the way, they're trying to change the narrative on Frimpong signing as well, to say that he wasn't signed to be a defender. Fuck right off with that shit. He came in to be a competitor at right back, and yes, an option if we need him a bit further forward. But again today, what happens? Slot reverts back to himself. And again, when we got to 2-2, you can see the mentality switching again to, well, let's keep what we have here. And that's it. He's just too passive as a coach. Too safety first. Do you remember I called in the first half? We had a throw in about 15 yards inside the United half. And within 5 seconds, it was back with our goalkeeper. And from that came the pattern of play which led to their first goal. And it's just all so negative. And it's also safety first. And we can't play safety first football because we don't know what the word safety means. What's this one? Dominic Szoboszlai now has the joint most goal contributions for Liverpool this season with 23 goals and assists in total. And again, certainly without a doubt our best player this season, Dom. Just popping by to be a fly on the wall and wish GG. Well, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, look, let me say one thing. It was a good goal from Kobe Mainu, the final one, the strike to kill off the game. And somebody pointed out to me earlier on, I mean, the irony of United trusting their homegrown academy talent versus us not, it's not lost on me. Because, why not blood the youngsters through? What I never understood about Slot this season is, despite so many failures from players that are senior, he hasn't even looked to give the young guys a chance. And he'll talk with some bullshit stat about how Rio has the most minutes of any 17-year-old, but come on, be fair, it's nonsense. He should have used them more this season, because the club told us we weren't signing a left winger because they didn't want to block the pathway for Rio. And I would argue that Slot is doing that all on his own. Like I've said many times, United would have played Rio today if that was Manchester United. They would have. I know it, you know it, United fans know it as well. If they were without their strikers and they had a young player coming through that had a lot of hype around them, United would have put him straight in. They would have. We didn't. And that says everything about the mentality of our coach to me. David said, I could understand the defending if we were all action going forward, but we lack numbers going forward. So how do we get exposed so much? It's a lack of a six or a lack of aggression at the back. So there came a time last season, I can't remember at what point in the season it was, but it felt like Arne thought we were too exposed. And he changed it a little bit. But that, in my memory anyway, is when this whole side-to-side bullshit came about. He has this hard-on for possession. And possession's useless, as we've seen today, unless you do something with it. United had, 36, 38% of the ball, but had more shots on target than us, created more chances than us. So it's about what you do with the football. And having it means nothing when you're playing it right in front of the opposing team. Craig, what are you predicting for the final 3 games? Villa, Chelsea and Brentford. I think we beat Villa, we draw or lose to Chelsea, and we beat Brentford. And I think the only reason I'm saying that about Villa is because of the Europa League. That distraction for them. Because they looked way off it, that Spurs game today. They looked like they hadn't got the fight in them because obviously they were distracted. So I think we'll get a result against Villa and Brentford and a draw or a loss to Chelsea. That's kind of where my head's at the minute. Adam Jackson said, Mac has been made a scapegoat for Slot deciding to move the standout. I don't think he is, Adam. I really don't, mate. I think we throw around that word scapegoat a little bit too often. Alexis McAllister just hasn't had the greatest of seasons. Now, I think he came into it playing catch-up with an injury. And also, he had a new baby, and maybe that's given him some sleepless nights, I don't know. But I don't think he's been scapegoated. I really don't. I do think he's just not been anywhere near the level that we know he's capable of this season. And we don't know the reasons for that, but I do think it's fair that that criticism has been there. And of course, there's constructive criticism and there is some over-the-top shit like we've seen with Gakpo and some of the stuff he gets as well. But I honestly do think his level has been nowhere near what we know he's capable of. Medusa Cascade said, United and youth is synonymous. Yeah, Busby Babes, etc. Exactly. But, I don't get it. Like, we've seen Yamal at a young age being given, European championships, being given running the Barcelona team. And every Liverpool fan wanted Rio to start that game today. And why wouldn't you have gone Wirtz left, Gakpo central, Rio right? I don't understand that. Put Frimpong at right back. Tell one of the right-sided midfielders to come across and cover if needs be, if Rio's not doing his defensive work enough. And look, I do what Phil said earlier on. I believe it was Phil. Excuse me, Phil, if I've misremembered the name. But there is defensive stuff Rio needs to work on, absolutely. But I'd still give him one player a bit of free rein and a bit of no defending to do, because you always want somebody standing around the halfway line or so anyway for a counter-attack, and he's probably one of the fastest players that we have available, so why not? Andy Ellison, how are you, Andy? Said, I'm worried about Isak. He's injured again. Waste of money, in my opinion. It how do I say this? I was never I was happy we signed Isak, but he was never going to be somebody I would have signed if I was looking at it. And you can go back to last summer. I said all summer, Julian Alvarez was my number one choice. Now, I know he wasn't available, but the club, for whatever reason, they wanted Isak. He was the number one target. He's the guy they wanted. And they moved heaven and earth to get him. Now, Jamie Carragher said something a few weeks ago that he doesn't remember too many players who haven't made a big impression in their first season going on to have a great career at Liverpool. And it's a fair point that he makes. Now, he didn't rule out the idea that Isak could get back to it, but it is very frustrating that in a time of the season where we need him, there's a little niggle again. And let's be honest, nobody's surprised that you hear the words Isak and injury. But more concerning has been that when he has played, we don't look like we understand what to do with him or how to get the most out of him. And that's even more concerning when you consider he was the number one target. Like, you would have assumed that they would have had a plan mapped out of exactly what to do to get the most out of Isak when he's in the team. And it hasn't looked like that from day one. And then let's have the conversation about Florian Wirtz, who was brought in to be the 10. Big song and dance made about that. And how many times this season has he been played out of that position? So everything that Arne Slot has promised these guys and everything that we assumed there was going to be plans around has gone by the wayside for one reason or another. VX said, no offence, but I was glad Rio came on late. He was a game changer and it could have been a very different game had he started. He had Dalot turned. He did. He did, and you know what? I mentioned it during the watch along. Not only were United players nervy, you could see it in the United fans in Old Trafford when Rio got on the ball. So yeah, for us as Liverpool fans, it's been frustrating from a lot of this season that we wanted Rio given more chances, because you'll accept mistakes from a younger player a lot more than you would from somebody who you think knows better. And there's too much players staying on the ground lately for us as well, and too much moaning and not enough aggression. And that's, again, it's how do we get from last season to this so quickly? Skater Hardy, how are you, mate? Said, I'm going to be honest here. I don't think Slot knows how to get the best out of anybody in our team. How many of our goals are mistakes by our opponents? I accept the rare dumb free kick, of course. A lot. A lot. And, you know, one thing that I always think about when I hear Slot talking is, if I was in the dressing room and I heard the manager coming out with the excuses that he has, the first thing that's going to come into my mind is, cool, we're getting off the hook. Because if you're making excuses as a manager, you're given free rein for the players to make excuses. Am I wrong? If you hear your manager out there saying, we were unlucky, we should have won this, blah, 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 you're thinking, cool. Well then, that's grand, isn't it? He's laid the groundwork there now, so if we were unlucky, not we weren't good enough, or we weren't coached well enough, or we made mistakes, we were unlucky. And that type of language, it just allows this shit to fester and allows this drop in standards that they can't wrestle back now. Isak had injury problems when we got him from Sociedad. I was surprised we got the money we did from you. So I was really surprised, Medusa, after we got Hugo, that they were so insistent on going back after Isak. Even from the point of view of, normally at a club you'd have a number 1, number 9, and then you'd have a backup. So the idea of bringing in both of them felt a bit weird. We assumed one of them maybe was going to start operating on the left-hand side, but ultimately, it is a strange position for a club to drop 70-something million quid on Hugo and then almost undermine him by going out and bringing in another one. So it was weird. We overpaid, but we always knew we had to overpay if we wanted to get him. And now these guys have to live and die by those decisions. This was a Hughes, Edwards and Slot decision. If it doesn't work, well, it ain't going to be on the fans, is it? So we're the ones that will have to bear the brunt of it, of course, as spectators and watching the games. But, you know, it just feels so infuriating because we as fans have waited so long for FSG to really pony up some money and spend. And this year, we get what we've asked for 15 years. And this clown has rinsed all that goodwill. So if I'm FSG, I'm probably sitting back going, well, we're not fucking spending that much again, are we? Because these guys told us that these were the best guys out there. We bring them in and we go so far backwards. It's mental. Isak was the best striker in the Prem last season. Vert's one of the best CMs in the world. That's why they bought both, but they don't know how to use them. Exactly. It's like you gave, you know, a 14-year-old kid free reign to go onto FIFA and buy players. And didn't seem to have a methodology of what we were doing. Like, I assumed after the signings of Frimpong, Kirkes, Wirtz, Ekitike and Isak, I assumed, maybe naively, that now we're going to see Arna really push on to go for that PSG-style system. That real up-in-your-face, high energy, everybody knows their role. I expected that this season. Now, he didn't promise that, but that's what I thought we were going to kick on to try and do. And like I've said, look at all the big games this year. He gets it wrong. He got it wrong against PSG twice. He got it wrong last year in the League Cup final against Newcastle. And he always either overthinks it or errs on the side of caution when he shouldn't. And that's a mentality that tells you the character of the person. When your back's against the wall, what do? A manager that believes in his system would continue with the system, would continue to do it despite mistakes because that's the way you want this team to play and they need to get used to it. But he doesn't. He rips it up, goes with something new, that doesn't work, goes with something new, that doesn't work. And I have to listen to him banging on about his football philosophies like he has any. Tino said, do you think any of the players believe in Slot? I think it's impossible to answer. I really do think it's impossible to answer because I think to be kind about it, Tino, I think there's been a divide in the dressing room. I think that's me being kind about it. To say that there's certainly some players whose body language this season, like Alisson is one player I would put in the category of doesn't want Slot around. You know, you can just look at him and see. He was ignoring instructions from the manager before. All of a sudden now, he's open to the idea of going to Juventus, where there was no fucking talk of that. So, there's just so many things. Robbo wants out, Jones wants out, Alisson wants out, Salah wants out. What's the common denominator in all of this? Is the way the club is right now. The way it's been run. The direction it's going in. Some of these lads can see the writing on the wall. Can somebody please tell me how Slot has been nominated for the Manager of the Month? Because I think we won 3 games that month and they nominated 7 managers. So, you know, basically fucking 35% of the league was nominated. So if you had any type of a decent month, you get into that conversation. Colette said, I might be a bit mad, but I think Slot goes by mutual consent at the end of the season. Look, how does it help people when you've got the likes of Dominic King, who's writing, covering Liverpool Football Club, writing articles with one of the headline pieces being that Arne Slot would be perfectly within his rights to walk away from Liverpool, but he wouldn't because that's not the type of man he is. So that's basically saying he's bigger than us. Basically. And that's the attitude I've kind of gotten from Slot. And I've said this throughout the season. Sometimes it feels like he thinks he's doing us a favour being here. But if Dominic King really thinks that, then I don't know what opinion he has of this football club. Because Arne Slot has gotten away with more at this football club than he would at any other club. No other club would keep him in charge with the fall off we've seen. None. But I have to get this fucking clown writing pieces like that. That's just there to gaslight Liverpool fans. No other reason. That's all that article was written for. was to try and get people angry to go and click on it. That's it. And he has the cheek to talk about YouTubers. It's honestly embarrassing. And I really am just fed up with them at this point, because they're doing more damage to the club than good. And they're gaslighting the fan base that they want to pay for their fucking shit journalism. It's crazy. That meme guy said the standards are low because we have to play poor performing players due to poor depth in areas and accepting that standard and players fecking off in the holidays after crap performances. Yep. I love how some people on Instagram are trying to beat you with the stick of saying Slots Manager of the Month, like he's been proving everything you've said wrong. Look, Bailey, mate, I don't need recognition from anyone on Instagram or anything else. I'm very confident in my football knowledge, in what I've looked at and what I've played, the level I've played at. I know my football. I don't need anybody on Instagram or Twitter or anybody else to tell me that Slot's out of his depth. I know it. And they know it. There's nobody really supports this man. And it isn't a personal thing like we've said, but he's just not good enough. He doesn't get the club. He doesn't get the fans. He just doesn't get it. And that's not going to change. He is unable to motivate. He's unable to be angry by the looks of it. He's unable to do fucking anything other than deflect. Was there any news on Fergie? It was believed that it was precautionary, Medusa Cascade. I read something from BBC and a few others that said it was precautionary and that hopefully he'll be home soon with his family. And look, we do wish Sir Alex good health, and I hope he is back with his family soon. It was worrying news for football. You know, he's a great at the game. There's no denying that. And when you hear somebody like Sir Alex was rushed off in an ambulance, obviously your first thoughts are with his family and his loved ones, and you hope that he's okay. And thankfully, it looks like he is going to be, and he'll be home with his family, which is what we all want to hear. Right, let me read through some stuff here from my notes for you guys. Bear with me. So let's talk about transfers for a minute. So this coming out of Napoli, from a journalist over there, said that Liverpool have made an offer worth £24 million to sign Napoli defender Sam Buquema. They say Arne Slot is pushing for the Dutch defender, and a move is seen as absolutely possible. So I don't know if these links are legit or not, but what I can say is I'm fed up of being linked to Dutch players. I'm absolutely sick to the fucking teeth of it. If it's not him, it's Dumfries. If it's not and I don't mind Dumfries as a footballer, by the way. I think he's a good footballer. But I used to sit here and mock Ten Hag for this, for only having one type of player from one region that he's able to really get any joy out of or belief in. And I don't want Liverpool to become the Dutch national team 2.0, thank you. Don't mind a mix of anything, but these links are worrying. And there's been a few over the last few days. Van de Ven. Then we've got the guy from Brighton, Van Hecke. Dumfries. Like I've said, it's just, can you stop this shit? VX said, fair play, Craig, you're a good sport. Look, mate, I always said this. I have incredible respect for Manchester United as an institution and as a football club. They made my youth a misery as a Liverpool fan, but I've only ever been shown a huge amount of kindness and respect by Manchester United fans outside the banter. And I'm here to be bantered, that's fine. But they've always been good to me. And when somebody like Sir Alex, same as we would look at Sir Kenny, when they have an illness, it's bigger than a team. He's a giant of the game. A giant of the game. And, you know, that class or dignity from both sides should always, and I think will always be there. Slot wants to surround himself with Dutch familiarity. He's not a bad coach. He's just not a great coach. I just don't think he's the coach for us at this moment and this league. And it's really hard to know what to make of Giovanni from Bronkhorst this season as well, because we haven't really got much insight there as to what impact or not he's made. Craig, fans were singing tragedy songs all game today. Look, there's always going to be arseholes in every fan base. But the United fans that I know, the ones that I interact with, the ones that I've gotten to know on a daily, weekly basis, are good people. Like any fan base, there's going to be dickheads from both sides that go too far, and they need to be called out. But I can only tell you my real life lived experience, and it's always been that there's always been a good sporting sense underneath it from both sides, a kind of begrudging respect. Don't think Slot's new style is Premier League fit. Tried playing more possession-based this season and it's clearly not worked. The thing about that though, Connor, is the possession-based football that he's played with doesn't have any intensity to it. If you're going to play possession-based football and you're sitting against low-block teams, you're going to have to create overload. You're going to have to move the ball quicker. You're going to have to get the ball crossed in from half spaces at an earlier time. We're not doing any of that. And it's so easy for teams to defend against when it's all played in front of them. Side to side slowly. They mop that shit up. That's like a training exercise. It's crazy. There's just no DNA in this team. No identity. For looking at Dutch players, I'd go for Van Basten. I think maybe he might be retired. Just maybe. Right, this one. From Peter Rourke. He said, Alisson will not push for a move away from Liverpool this summer as he remains happy. The goalkeeper will leave it up to the club to decide what to do. You see, that whole thing's a cop-out. Alisson either wants to go or he doesn't. If he's no interest in Juventus, then this isn't an issue. But if he does have an interest and says, I'll leave it up to the club, then that's a cop-out. That's basically just kicking the ball back over to the club side to go, it's on you now. What you going to do? Because he clearly wants to move. If he didn't want to move, then it wouldn't be a conversation. So I don't like this. He puts it back on the club. That's just a way to save face. All these links have said that he wants to go. Loads of stuff from the Turin side say he wants to move to Juventus. 3-year contract, all this stuff. But if he wants to stay, then just come out and say, I've no interest in going at this moment in time. I've a year left with Liverpool. It's not hard. And here's a bit of a mad one for you. But Fenerbahce have initiated contact with Jurgen as they embark on a new era ahead of the upcoming presidential elections in June. Shock horror. Presidential elections coming up and they're being linked with Salah, they're being linked with Robbo, they're being linked with Jurgen. It's almost as if somebody's trying to win the election by promising the impossible. What do you think about Van de Ven? I was talking to some people at halftime who said he's only got pace and I like him, but Spurs have been awful for 2 years, but I'm not sure it's a good idea. I would like the idea of Van de Ven if we played a back three. I think him left side maybe of a back three I'd be fine with. If we're sticking with 2 centre-backs, not so sure. No. I put Bastoni in the same camp as well. And look, hopefully, we don't really need to do much at centre-back. If Canade stays, and again, we don't know. And then what happens with Senesi? That would be a decent signing on a free. Craig, what's the first 2 positions signing you want through the doors before one other signing? A winger and a DM. A winger and a number 6. That's, first 2. Bastoni's not Dutch. Who the fuck said he was? I was talking about centre-backs here. Didn't say he was Dutch. All I said is I'd like him in a back 3 and I'd like Bastoni in a back 3. Never once said he was Dutch. I've known damn well Bastoni's Italian, mate. Weird one. Right, so we're nearly at 2,000 votes on this, and we asked, should Liverpool sell Maka this summer? So after this, I want to ask you about the right back position, but I want to ask you in a kind of different way. So let's just get 2 more votes on this, then we're at 2,000. There we go. So 81% of people say yes, we should sell Alexis McAllister. So should we sell Bradley? Here's one for you. Should we sell Bradley? And the reason I'm asking is you're talking about right back, and we need a right back. But we need to decide what Frimpong is as well. Because if we're having a conversation where Frimpong isn't the right back, then Bradley can stay, no problem, and you need to get another right back. But then you still needed another right back. So you either went into this season knowing Bradley was injury prone and that you didn't want Frimpong at right back, which is idiotic, or else you're bluffing and Frimpong was brought in to be covered at right back but hasn't proved to be good enough in that position and Bradley's injury prone. So what do we do with Conor Bradley? Because I think we'll all agree we need to do something at right back. But we need to know what the plan is with Frimpong as well. You know, because if Frimpong's not a right back, then absolutely we need to bring in another right back. But if we're saying Frimpong and Bradley are right back options, bringing in another one just feels like overkill. Something would have to give. And I say this as a huge Conor Bradley fan, but it's no good having a player who can play 20 games a season. You know, it's no good having that. That doesn't benefit anybody. So we're going to have to make some tough calls at some point. And I'm glad I don't have to make the call on Conor Bradley. I really am, because you could make a very valid argument for either side of it. Apart from not having a clear tactical plan, no ability or desire to develop youth players, inability to put his squad in boring play, Slot's great. Yeah. Apart from all that, he's great. You know, if we're judging him solely by him being able to keep his tan up for the entire season, he's done great. Colin said, when Bronkhorst caused havoc at Rangers, the fans were glad to see the back of him, but as Slot's close mates, he's now with us. So I don't really watch Scottish football, so I didn't know too much about his time up at Rangers. And I didn't really know what to expect either when he came in. You know, they again took a while to make that appointment, and they came up with the name Van Bronckhorst. But, you know, it'd be nice to get a number 2 in who isn't running off again within a few months, because Heidegger went off to manage. Now Van Bronckhorst looking like he could be going to Feyenoord as a director or sporting director or technical director or something along those lines. It all feels like wise people wanting out of our club constantly. Gemma, thank you for being with us for 20 months as a member. Appreciate you, Gemma. Matt said, story, Craig. I've just shown the love, bro. Yup. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, sir. Yeah, it's a tough one. And also, what do we do with Frimpong moving forward, folks? What's the plan there? Because if we're going to stick playing the system we do, I don't know what the fuck we have Frimpong for. Because he's a wing back. If Alonso came in and played with a back 3, cool. Then it all makes way more sense. But right now, I don't understand it. Because he's not good enough as a right winger. He just isn't. And Slot doesn't want to play him at right back. So again, just another questionable one. Did we sign him because it was a reasonable fee? Did we sign him because he's Wirtz's mate? Because it's another one that doesn't seem like there was a real plan there of what to do with him. Joe said, why bring... was it Joe? No, sorry, Joss said, why bring players to suit a system, even if he stays for one more season? Is he getting an extension? Is he staying past next season? Exactly that, mate. And I've said it so many times this season. If we're all wrong, and the Calculator Kid and Richard Hughes are so adamant that Slot's the guy, and they're determined that he's going to put it right, then why aren't you putting a new contract in front of him? Because you don't want a manager that you want at the club for the long term, being in a position where he could walk away or be poached away. You want to show that and reaffirm your commitment to him. And if I'm his coach or his agent, that's the very first thing I'm saying to Liverpool. Make your fucking mind up. You're either backing Arna or you're not. And if you're backing him, we want a new contract. And if you're not backing him, we want to go. But either way, if you really think he's the guy, surely you'd want to put a new deal in front of him. Because what's going to happen? Let's say, by some miracle, Arna turns it round next year and we're top of the league. You're going to have to pay a pretty penny then, aren't you? Because he's going to have options and he's going to have you over a barrel. And if there's one thing we've seen is that there's too many times Liverpool have been held over a barrel recently by players coming to the end of their contracts. You don't want that happening with the manager as well. So again, you could shut all of this conjecture up about Salah if you gave him a new deal. And they haven't done that, and they haven't looked likely to do that. But you're expecting us to take this big leap of faith that you trust them. So this from Chris Williams, who said, Slot took Klopp's high fitness base, eased workloads, managed fatigue and protected output. Early returns were superb, almost perfect. We blew the Premier League and Champions League away, but come March 25, intensity has dropped, fitness levels have declined, and it's been impossible to recover those since. So there's a journalist, has done a lot of good work this year, Chris Williams, in calling out the club, in calling out the club's passive-aggressive WhatsApp messages to journalists, and now again, replying to David Lynch and This Is Anfield, saying what we all know, that the standards did drop off. And it's no coincidence that we fell away at the time the training was changed. So, well done to Chris Williams for having the balls to say like we've said. We all know it. So West Ham, folks, who are on the brink of relegation, have the same amount of losses this year as Liverpool in the season, overall competitions. And they're getting relegated. Or at least very close to it. And we're supposed to believe in the future. And we're supposed to be the ones trying to defend the league title. There's been so many buts this year. What if he wins? What if he wins the Champions League? He didn't. What if he wins the FA Cup? He didn't. Didn't even come close to it. And again, there's always a what if. It's too early, it's too early. Well, now it's getting to the point where it's bleeding obvious. We've won fuck all this year, haven't got to a semi-final, haven't looked good for 2 games in a row. And yet we're supposed to go into the summer and believe he's going to put it right. So, I don't know what this is a quote from, but Anfield Sector posted to say, this was an assignment demanding a backs against the wall display to dig in and grow into proceedings. Instead, Slot lamented his players not picking up the second balls in those early passages when the chances to set the tone were squandered. It was enough to wonder just what is said in the moments before kickoff. More importantly, whether anyone is actually listening. Yeah, I've said it before. You know, yes, he isn't Jurgen Klopp, but he's absolutely unable to get these lads motivated. He just can't do it. And I said this to you guys when he came to us. There was this piece doing the rounds when, I don't know if it was with Feyenoord or AZ Alkmaar, that they went and they beat Ajax. I think it was Feyenoord. And there was this video doing the rounds of this stirring speech from Arne Slot. And I watched it. And I thought, have I clicked on the wrong thing here? Because all this was some gobshite waffling. And there was nothing inspiring about that whatsoever. That was from a Paul Joyce article. That part I just read out about this was an assignment demanding a back against the wall display. Exactly. I said to you guys before the game, United are going to come fast. First 10 minutes are important. Nothing stupid. Don't give them encouragement. 6 minutes in, boom, 1-0 down. At home against United, 63 seconds, 1-0 down. It's like we go out there and we think we're going to get time to grow into the game. That's not going to happen in a game against United at Old Trafford, because their fans wouldn't let that happen, because they want that team at it from the first whistle, and rightly so. And we're just so passive and weak. What made Klopp special was he was part of the club, a time for everybody, and showed belief and humility. Slot unfortunately does none of that. He doesn't really show much humility, you're right. And look, Jurgen is a very special man. But how many players did we hear saying that they would have run through a wall for Klopp and that they feared nobody? They went out there thinking that they could beat anyone. No matter what the situation was, they felt like they could turn it around and win. We don't have that anymore. And I worry. Imagine we didn't have the start we had to the season, where we had loads of last-ditch wins. Imagine a few of them had gone the other way. Like, yet again, FSG will find themselves blessed to get into the Champions League, but they won't act. Because this should be a warning for them, a wake-up call. We nearly didn't get into the Champions League. And rather than be relieved and double down on it, they should be acting on it. Gemma, thank you, Gemma. Billy said, sometimes I feel like Slot doesn't really have a personality. He has no passion whatsoever. Yeah. Look, sometimes there's a need for cool, calm heads. When, what's that poem? When everyone about you is losing their minds, it's time for you to be calm. Sometimes that's needed. But sometimes, when your back's against the wall, when results aren't going well, you just need a bit of motivation. You just need to put a rocket up those players. And they need to know that if on a result like today, they should be sitting in that dressing room, not only upset about the result, but worried about what the manager's going to come in and say. Do you think Arne will walk into that dressing room and say something like Jurgen did? Something like, my old midfield would have had the balls to go and win that game. Does anybody think Slot's in there saying stuff like that to them? No. All right, boys. Okay. Little holiday, start of the week. Little top up for the Tan boys. Dom, I'm looking out for you on Instagram, mate. Give us blue steel, Dom. Give us that. That's what'll happen. They'll be all off now. Another few days rest, because heaven forbid, they must be tired having to run around for 90 minutes once a week. So let them have a little rest, a little bit of Instagram, a little bit away. Arne maybe top up his tan a little bit, but it'll all be grand. It'll all be fucking tickety-boo, because the Dweeb Club have the club sorted. Point difference at this stage compared to last season, Liverpool minus 24. Joint bottom with Wolves. Yep. It's not great. Van Dijk was asked what he said at half-time, and the answer was essentially nothing. Yeah, put me in. I'll fucking motivate them. Put me in the dressing room. And again, the really mad part in all of this is that the dweebs spend 6 months looking around the world, looking at dossiers of every manager, running the numbers, getting the calculator out semi-immediately there when they're talking about numbers, semi-on straight away. They spend 6 months, an exhaustive search, they said, to come up with what they believe was the closest thing to Jurgen Klopp on the pitch. 6 months. That should be a sackable offence. Because what the fuck did you see that made you think that this man was going to be able to play the style of football that Klopp did? What did you see that we haven't seen? Because even when we won the fucking league, we didn't look like Klopp's team. We had little blasts of it. So where are those similarities? Again, you know the phrase, they've let the lunatics take over the asylum? Well, we've let the fucking dweebs take over the club. the number crunchers. Fucking shocking. Some things are just immeasurable. And apparently, like, I remember one of the, who was it? I think it was somebody, one of the agents of one of the coaches or somebody who came in to negotiate with Richard Hughes, and he said he was a robot. He said he had no charisma, was just a fucking robot. I don't get it. I've seen how you react to people telling you what to do on your channel. Imagine how bad the players will react to you telling them what to do. See, there's a bit of a difference there between me reacting to people being an arsehole versus me going in to motivate a team of players. Because I promise you, I'd be able to do it. And if you're too soft to be able to take a bit of criticism, then you shouldn't be in the fucking dressing room. Because this is big boy time. We're talking about the top of world football here. The most successful club in English football history. You think Jurgen didn't share some home truths in the dressing room? So I wouldn't be worried one bit what they would react to. Because the ones that sulk about it are the very ones that cause the fucking problem. So Slot's way hasn't really worked, has it? So I absolutely back somebody to go in there. That's why I was so adamant that it should have been Gerrard on a short-term deal. Because yes, he's not the long-term solution, but Carrick hasn't exactly rewritten the coaching book to turn United around, has he? No, he's gone in and he's explained what's expected at that club, what it means to wear that shirt, the standards that need to be maintained, and look what's happened. Bit of motivation, an arm around the guys who need an arm around them, belief put back into them, and look at it. And again, none of us are going to sit here and say that Michael Carrick's the greatest coach in the world. But, you know, basic stuff has got that United team turned around. Because they look at Michael Carrick and they know he's walked the walk. They know he's been there. They know he gets it. They know he gets the pressures. They know he gets the expectation. And they know he knows what he's talking about. Nagelsmann or Alonso, maybe. The best choices could get the best out of Wirtz. Look, I'll be the very first one to say to you, I don't think there's anybody out there that would be risk-free to come in. I am a realist in that regard. You know, could we get Luis Enrique? No. But he's probably the one that is 100% perfect. But you couldn't get him. That's fair enough. So anybody else is going to come with some inherent risk. But what I would say is, I think the fans would be on board for a bit of transition if it was somebody new. What I don't think they're going to be able to sell to the fan base is transition under Arna. Because it's been one of the most frustrating seasons to watch as a fan. Because not only are you losing games, you're losing them playing terribly with a brand of football that excites nobody. So I think people would understand a bit of a transitional season for a coach that they actually had some goodwill left towards. So I'm just reading something here. So this said, of course, it's been difficult to build dressing room connections this term. The mood was understandably subdued after the death of Diogo Jota in pre-season, and there have been other factors since, not least the star player attacking his own head coach midway through the campaign in a downturn in relations that has led to Salah quitting 12 months before his contract had been originally due to expire. Yeah. I've always found the using of Diogo Jota's tragic passing as an excuse cowardly. Because at the time, there was talk of doing something to honour him this season. And as the season's gone on, and as our form has looked terribly, the get out of jail card for some people that want to undermine the whole situation is to bring that up. We're in May. I mean, And he still hasn't got it together. And he still hasn't knit the group together. And he still hasn't been able to find those relationships or inspire players. So here's Jamie Carragher. He said, am I worried about where Liverpool are going? Yeah, I am. I think it'll be really interesting who Liverpool buy in the summer, what the profile of player will be. Going for just good players hasn't worked. It's blown up in their face. There's a lack of physicality. Alonso is the one making Liverpool fans think we don't want to miss out on him. We can't be a club who continue for the next 5 or 10 years saying, oh, we want Jurgen Klopp football. This fella is a genius. He does football better than anybody. So whatever manager is going to come in, he's going to play his football. The worry is not that there's no identity. There is the identity. So it's not the manager's shoulders. So it's on the manager's shoulders. And I go back to last year when Liverpool didn't sign anybody, but the one player he wanted was Martin Zubimendi, again, another technical footballer. I'm not saying that doesn't work. The most successful team in the Premier League over the last 10 years have been a technical football team. But we're going away from what Jurgen Klopp was because this manager wants that. This is where he's taken this team, and that's the worry for me. Is this actually going to go more the other way? Or are they thinking Liverpool needs to go back to last season? Or is Arne Slot thinking, no, we actually need more technical footballers? So what I would say to Jamie there is, you showed your true colours when you wanted him sacked for the Canade situation. And you said what you said. And I'm not judging you for saying that, Jamie, because I understand how you felt in that moment. And we all felt the same. But when you continuously go on then and say that Liverpool need to back the manager and fans need to back the manager and fans in the stadium are the real fans who understand and don't turn on the manager, but they have turned on the manager. So there's nowhere left to hide. There's nowhere left to vilify anybody else. All these people that are football people know damn well that Arne Slot is not the man. They know it deep down. Every single fucking one of them knows it. But none of them have the balls to say it. And I don't know why that is. Whether it's your professional relationship with them, whether it's respect for the club you played for. But I would argue that allowing the club to go in this direction isn't showing much respect. Because what ultimately is the club? It's the players and the fans. That's it. That's the bond. Sometimes the manager's in there and that's cool. But nobody gives a fuck about FSG. FSG will go about their lives and do what they do, and best of luck to them. But you and I and all the other Liverpool fans will be here for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So Carragher needs to just be upfront and honest about it. He knows deep down that the brand of football that Slot's playing isn't one that Liverpool fans are going to like. He knows it. He knows it hasn't been good enough. But they're doing nobody any favours by constantly saying all the negative stuff and then saying, but you can't be talking about sacking the manager. Which one is it? Are we a club that has standards? Or are we a club that likes to just throw out it's the Liverpool way to justify failure? 18 losses in one season is unacceptable at any era, at any time for this football club. And the fact that he's done it off the back of a transfer spend, the likes of which we've never seen Jurgen Klopp get, and shit the bed, is even more inexcusable. So I don't understand how this is even a debate. Everybody should be calling out the manager. Everybody should be asking for him to be fired because it's the right thing. It's not a personal thing. We don't know Arne the man. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But Arne the coach isn't cutting it. And he isn't going to. So why waste another half season and a transfer window backing somebody who's going to fail? They all know it deep down. They don't really believe he'll turn it round because they've got no evidence to show he'll turn it round. None. All they have is he won the league in his first year. But that willfully ignores the fact that that was the remnants of Klopp's fitness, that was the remnants of Klopp's aggression and his team. And when he had his chance to put his own stamp on it, he gone so, as Cara just said, gone so far away from that he can't get back to it now. It's straight, it's not that complicated. Edwards must hate Klopp so much he came back to destroy the mentality, culture and relationship. I don't know what the fuck Edwards does. Honestly, I don't. I don't know what he does to justify the millions of pounds he's getting paid. But I really am wound up by these lads not just fronting up the camera. It's so cowardly that the director of football will only sit in front of a camera when it's a little closed off media session for a round table for a pat on the back for everyone. It's pathetic. Even the Echo today, by the way, they had the comments turned off for their match day coverage on their blog. Why is that? Why would you have the comments turned off, boys? Might it be because you know what's going to be written? Because despite all your fucking lies and all your bullshit trying to tell us the fans are still with them, they're not. They very much are not. And you know it. Whereas Hughes and Edwards at pressers show up. Look, I don't expect Edwards to be there, but I definitely expect Hughes. You know, like, let's be honest. Remember when he unveiled Arna and he had his first press conference? How refreshing was that? It was lovely to see Richard Hughes up there and hear from him. And maybe we thought we were going to see a bit more of that. Because if you're going to go down that model, look at the Netherlands, look at Germany. Their directors of football speak to the media all the time. But there's some level of arrogance, and I mean arrogance, around their football club that some people think they're too good to talk to the great unwashed, to deal with the public. That's it. Let's be fucking honest about it. These lads swan around behind the scenes, getting paid multi-million pounds, and are answerable to fucking nobody. And FSG are the other side of the Atlantic. It's shocking. Mark said, Craig, Paisley used to say, you can't live on what you've done in the past. It's got to be turned over year by year. Exactly. They used to get their winners' medals, throw them in a box in the middle of the dressing room, and say, same again next year, lads. What do? We party with Wayne Lineker and Ibiza, like a tin pot club while the season's still going. And then we have the cheek to utter phrases like the Liverpool way, which is about doing things with a bit of dignity, the right way. Where's the dignity in that? Where's the respect to the league in that? Do you think anyone from FSG will be at the game with Brentford? Probably, because they'll want you to be part of the whole Mo Salah's last day stuff. Managers have an obligation in their contracts to do press conferences, and I genuinely think something similar should be done with the Director of Football in England. I agree with that. Zed said, enough is enough. Slot needs to get gone. He's turned $500 million team into Bournemouth, and we don't know what team is going to show up. More often than not, it's mediocre Liverpool. Get him gone. I have no problem with FSG, Edwards or Hughes. Best transfer window ever, and we suck. But we had an immense transfer window, 500 million for the year. Cool. So you're a cook. Get you. Because I don't know how you could have no problem with them. What is there to celebrate about any of them? The fact that we have a net spend every year lower than middle of the road teams. The fact that in the big one window that you're jumping up and down about as the greatest ever, Arsenal still spent more than us. So you can love them all you want, but it's fucking weird. Because you should have a problem with them. You should have a problem with the recruitment from last year because it wasn't good enough. You should have a problem with FSG sitting on their hands for way too long as seasons dwindle out. There's plenty of things that you should be upset with them about. And imagine saying as a Liverpool fan with a straight face, you've no problem with the people who tried to sign you up to the Super League. Fuck me. That's weird. You've no problem with the people that tried to just rip the history and tradition out of the football club. Good man. Yeah, not me, mate. Personally, I think it's scumbaggery of the highest order, but, you know, each to their own, I guess. Craig, do we really have no money? No, we have money. They just choose not to spend it. See, there's this belief that the FSG way is the only way. Like, we have to continuously only spend what we bring in, and you couldn't dare take on any debt. It's just, again, so much brainwashing has gone on that Liverpool fans, and I say this all the time, we're so browbeaten that any little fucking crumbs and we're doing hula hoops, we're over the moon. because we're used to getting nothing from them. 35 million, 40 million net spend a season. It's just not good enough. And we've overachieved the whole time they're here. And they've never stepped up. Never. Even the big year that we're all celebrating. Like I said, Arsenal's net spend was still more. And that was our big year. I'm a what, Craig? A cook. Yes, you heard me right. Cook. That's exactly it, mate. Yes. You're an FSG super fan who thinks Hughes and Edwards have done nothing wrong. So in my book, that makes you a cook. Yes. I hope I've cleared that up for you. Cheers. And honestly, you can just fuck off at this point, mate, because there's nothing to celebrate about them. Nothing. So yes, I hope I've made that clear. Because I've seen so many of your comments and they're always snidey. And I've let it go for years, Giant Gifts, but I've had enough of you now. Honestly, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So frequent elsewhere. Maybe go to one of the other fan channels who are very pro FSG and maybe you might find some support in there. But for me, with a straight face, to tell me as a Liverpool fan that you've no problem with the guys that sacked Kenny, furloughed staff, constantly pissing off the supporters and signed you up to the Super League without any type of correspondence. Cool. That's weird. Why weren't you happy with the recruitment in the summer? I was happy with the players we brought in, but there's been no, how do I say this? We front loaded and we spent a lot of money on players that the manager looks like he isn't able to get a tune out of. And I'm not like, there's not one player we signed last summer that I regret. Not one. The only one I had a question mark over was Frimpong because I couldn't see how we'd work in the system. But I've absolutely no problem whatsoever with any of the signings that we had. We didn't build out enough. We went in with one of the same issues that we had before, which was no DM. But we were told that Gravenberch was now the best DM in the world, and all of a sudden that was going to be fine. We didn't replace Diaz, and we all said, why aren't we replacing Diaz? And they said we don't want to block the pathway for Rio, and then he doesn't play Rio. We signed Chiesa, and he doesn't do anything about that. And I know that was the season before, but I've no problem with the recruitment, but it wasn't finished. They didn't get Mark A, and then when our centre-back situation got worse, and January came around, they did nothing there. They sat on their hands and brought in somebody for next year, which to me just says we're happy to write off this year again. And under FSG, there's been minimum of 3 seasons that I can remember that halfway through the season, it's been very clear what we're lacking and they haven't ponied up the dough. Or they've stuck a sticking plaster on it by bringing in Ozan Kabak, Ben Davies, Arthur Mello. All these ridiculous things that for people who are supposed to make every penny count is kind of brain dead. So, yeah, like I've said, some good stuff last summer, but we didn't finish the job. And now they're saying that they want to give Sloth 4 windows. But they gave him 2 windows that they did nothing in. They consciously did nothing. Yeah, I just find it laughable at this point, some of the excuse making. We've done that one the other day about Senesi. Can we please go out and get a nitty-gritty warrior for DM? So here's the part where I have to admit I'm a bit confused. I don't know, with the way we're playing now and the way Slot is, I don't know what is the best type of DM in that system because I don't know what the system really is. Does that make any sense? Like, it's easy to say go out there and get a ball-winning DM, but if you're a team that has most of the ball, it's more about being switched on. You know, I tried to liken it the other day to when we signed Mignolet. We signed Mignolet off the back of him having an incredible season with Sunderland, with the highest save percentage and stuff, but then it became clear that that was because he was playing in a team that was under the cosh all the time. But at Liverpool, a goalkeeper, or in this, I guess this instance, a DM, might have points of the game where they have to be passive almost. and that they mightn't see enough of the ball, but they have to be switched on. And Mignolet was never able to be that switched on the entire time, and it cost. And I think it's the same with DM. I don't know what a DM looks like in this system because fucked if I know what the system is. So I find it very difficult to think about who the best DM to bring in is when we don't know how they want that role to be played, if that makes any sense. So, like, if you bring in a Wharton, that's somebody who has maybe a bit more ball playing ability, but will he have the sweeping up, the breaking up, the reading of patterns of play, being able to step in to win the ball? Probably not. But in possession, would he be good? Yes. So you're kind of still at a Gravenberchy type thing there. Whereas if you go for somebody else like an Elliot Anderson, maybe somebody a bit more physical. But again, I really don't know, and that's why I'd struggle to give you a name as who I think would be the best fit. I like Fernandes from West Ham personally. So surely it's Tonali then. He's a bit of both. Tonali's a great show. A great show. I don't know. Look, who do you guys think we need? Like, really need? If you were to go out there and stylistically find somebody to drop them into our midfield, you know, I think the Tonali shout's a good shout because he has kind of all the attributes I think we'd need with a bit of that class as well. I don't see it happening, but it's a good shout. Ava said, agree with that. The DM profile is a difficult one to assess. Yeah, it is. And I said that's because I don't think there is any real continuity to the way we play, that it's easy for us to assess the deficiencies. Phil said Tonali would be brilliant, can play the ball but also break up play. Medusa Cascade said we want 100 million for Tonali apparently. And honestly, on this one, I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And I would say this as well to Newcastle fans. I really do feel like Tonali owes you guys something. You know, it's not often I'd say that about a player, but Newcastle really stood by Sandro Tonali in a very difficult time. So I think they're right to want to be fully repaid in every sense of the word for that. Hamoudi said Lamine Camara from Monaco. He's a name that's been mentioned quite a bit, mate. Yeah, I have to say to you, though, I don't know enough about Camara to personally say yay or nay, but he's definitely somebody that that's name has been mentioned a fair bit, has been somebody who's at least been considered. Personally, I'd love a Tonali or Tchouaméni, said Dylan. Enzo from Chelsea. Oh, can you imagine? Look, not even Enzo, Caicedo. Can you imagine Caicedo was dropped into our midfield? Imagine that had have happened. Now, look, we probably wouldn't have had Dominic Szoboszlai, so there's something in that as well. But yeah, God, that's the one for me. Like, Caicedo was the one. That was the one that I think would have just worked on every level. Could we get Fernandes and Wharton? I think so, but you'd probably have to move 2 on and get a hefty fee. So let's say we move, again, just throw names out there. Let's say you were to move on Maka and Jones. You're probably looking at 60 to 65 for Maka and 25-ish for Jones. Maybe 20 depending on add-ons and stuff. So then you're looking at paying probably 65 upwards for Wharton, and I actually don't have a clue what it may cost you to get Fernandes. Even if West Ham got down, I wouldn't know how to hazard a guess at the price. So on that giant gifts thing a second ago, so my interaction there with him wasn't just based off that one comment. I've been paying attention to a lot of his comments over the last year or two, and they've always been right on the edge of being banned. And today with that FSG shit, it's just, I don't get it. I don't get how anybody that loves this football club could have goodwill towards somebody who wanted to sell you down the river for money. I'll never understand that. And it's no accident to me that a lot of the support that they get comes from a certain part of the world where finances seem to be the most important thing. For me, owners, rightly or wrongly, are there to sign the checks and show up when it's time to lift the trophy and, get out of the way. That's it. They'll get their money when they sell the club, but I don't think they want to win. I've always said that. I never feel like they want to actually win. I don't think they sit up at night worried about winning. I think they think about the revenue streams, making sure their asset continues to grow in value, but never once do I think that they are ruthlessly trying to win. And I can't speak to what they do at the Red Sox or what they do at any of their other sporting institutions, but I do know at Liverpool, they've never shown like they want. They have every determination to win. Ward-Prowse could be a bargain. Oh, God, no. Jesus, no. Not for me. Ward-Prowse, no. God. Yeah, sorry. No, that's a no for me, Colin, anyway. Even as a United fan, happy to let City take Elliot Anderson, especially as ESPN were saying Forest won the 120 million. Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Yeah, the price tag is crazy, Harry. Now, they're saying that they come up with that price tag based off, what we played for Wirtz, what others have paid for Enzo Fernandez, what Moise Caicedo went for, what Declan Rice went for. So I guess if I'm Marinakis looking around at that, I kind of get it. But I don't think he's worth the money. I'm with you on that. He's a good player, but I don't think he's worth the money. Not that much. They broke the British transfer record twice, though. Yeah, they did. How many years have they been here again? And even though they broke the British transfer record twice, do I need to say again how much we brought back in? So, look, they're not the worst owners. And I've never said they were the worst owners. But they never do enough. There's always nearly there, nearly enough, nearly a good window. Like, for all the good things that they've done, the AXA, the 2 stands at Anfield, the cleaning up around Anfield, all great stuff, but all also adds to their bottom line. It wasn't just done out of goodness and kindness for the city. It was done to make their asset more valuable. And ultimately, you and I and other fans are going to pay for that. So they get to loan the club the money, get it paid off for them by the fans and the increased ticket sales, and their asset goes up in value. It's like me buying my house, lashing an extension on, and then wanting to parade down the town for how genius I am with regards to adding value onto my house. It's common sense stuff that should have been done a long time ago. But on the other side of it, the financial stuff, there's so many things that just don't make sense. Like, why piss away money on the likes of Chiesa? Why piss away money on Melo, Ozan Kabak, Ben Davies, all these transfer fees and wages? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, we had a great summer last year where we broke the British record twice. Absolutely. But we also brought in a lot of money. And when you tallied it all up at the end of the window, Arsenal still outlaid more money than us. And this was our Hail Mary summer. So I'm very grateful for that window. And it's why you haven't seen me bitching about FSG up until the last 2 weeks. But when they're in Boston and the 2 people that they're letting have free rein to run the club are making a hames of it, I think it's time to start calling FSG out again. Because if you really care and you want to win, 1, we wouldn't have gone through that January window without signings. And 2, there's no way you'd be sitting and looking at this slot situation and accepting it. None. Humour me, Craig. If you don't mind, if Slot was sacked and a manager like Carrick came in, would you give a proper contract or go for somebody else? So I can only say if it was Gerrard in our shoes. I wouldn't give Gerrard a deal to run the club. No. In your situation at United, I remember when Carrick came in, the conversation was that it didn't matter what he did, they weren't going to go into the same trap that they went into before, with the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer appointment and stuff like that. And that's exactly what United are doing. They've already come to the conclusion that it's likely they're going to carry on with Carrick. Now, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but they haven't done what they said they were going to do, which is use him as a placeholder. And he's done an incredible job. Really, really great job. But I still don't think it's the right thing for United to appoint Carrick, personally, because they said they weren't going to from the start. And I think it's a trap that's understandable for a football club to fall into, but not when you've made that mistake before. I just think it's a situation that United will end up ultimately regretting when next season comes around. You've got 2 games a week. You've got to be more competitive. You're losing some experienced players. And he's done a lot of good things, but I don't know. I don't think United should appoint him, but I think they will. And I can understand why they would as well, because how impressive it's been under Carrick with regards to the turnaround and some of the results he's had. Nobody expected it to go that well, but I just think if you said that at the start, you know, if it doesn't go well, then you are back into that cycle again, aren't you? So, you know, it's a tough one. And I don't envy United fans for whatever way their heads are with it, because I think you can understand why they'd be tempted to give him the job, but I honestly don't think long term it's the right appointment. Daz said, you know what's sad? We're supposed to be what PSG are now. We would have signed João Neves and Kvaratskhelia if we had good owners. We would have been the PSG. Yep. Every time we win something big, we fall off again the very next year. And it's happened too often. And I'm fed up of it. This was supposed to be the year we put together a good defence of the title. And we didn't again. And that's concerning. Dave said Craig Carrick got a good backroom team in. No, he really did, yeah. No, I know he did. He had former England coaches, I believe, in there as well. But look, I honestly understand whatever decision United make there. If they give him the job or don't give him the job. It is, I think, a far more difficult decision than the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer one. You know, but I think, like I said, they said they weren't going to do that. And now they're right back on the periphery of doing that again. So what if Alonso doesn't work then? What if he does? If we're playing that hypothetical what ifs, there's no answer to it. There's nothing I can say to convince you, and there's nothing you can say to convince me. All we can deal in is what we're seeing right now. And what we're seeing right now isn't good enough. So after that, you know, you have to roll the dice. I will give you that one, mate. It's absolutely no certainty. But I just think you get more buy-in and understanding, from the fan base right now. And look, on top of that, I think the fan base needs this. I think the fan base needs that injection of positivity, that goodwill right now. And I think the club needs it. And we've got somebody here who oozes winning on every level. As a coach, went invincible. Got to a Europa League final as well in his early coaching career. As a player, he's done it all. Won everything, been there. Internationally, club level, done it all. And loves the club. It feels like a win. Because let's look at the 2 CVs. Look at Arna's CV when he came to Liverpool. And look at Xabi Alonso's CV. I would argue that Alonso has a stronger CV than Arna has. But Arna got the job. Now, I'm not saying they weren't right to try Arna, but we've seen how this has worked out. And it's gone so far away from what we thought we were going to get with a brand of football. So I'm not saying that Alonso would come without any teething problems or a risk. It would. There's no sure thing out there. But you have to talk about the goodwill of a fan base as well. Because you've seen what it's like inside a stadium when the fans aren't feeling it and the fans aren't happy with what they're seeing. So Alonso would at the very least have some goodwill to start with that I don't think Salah has now or will be able to wrestle back. Alonso refused Liverpool for Madrid. Again, that's just not fucking true. I mean, if we're going to talk about these things, can we talk about facts? He wasn't given the Liverpool job because Liverpool didn't want to go and play with 3 at the back. The same reason they didn't go for Amorim. So he didn't run off to Madrid and turn down Liverpool because he was never offered the Liverpool job in the first place. So if we're going to have the conversation, please deal in facts with it. Nor did he fail at Madrid, which is another thing that I see people try to throw out there. Madrid failed him because it's a basket case of a club. Alonso's a champion, Slot is slow and slothful, and won with Klopp's culture and team. If Jurgen wanted to come back, would you take him? I mean, every fibre of me wants to say yes, but I'm not sure about revisiting anything in football. You know, bringing back a coach for a second spell, if it doesn't live up to the first one, I wouldn't want his legacy tainted in any way. And also, being purely selfish about it, I wouldn't want to put myself through the heartache of him leaving again. Because honestly, I pinch myself every day he was here. I still can't believe he was our coach and we got to have him for 9 years. And it was soul destroying for him to decide he wanted to go. But of course, we understood the toll it was taking on him and that he just needed to get out from under that pressure. And as a human being, I fully understand that. So, of course, my instinct would be to go, shit, yeah, bring him back in straight away. But it's running risk with the legacy as well. So if it worked out, great. We're all talking about this positively and it adds to that legacy. But I wouldn't want anything to undermine his legacy. But of course, your instinct is to go, yeah, I want him back because he's fucking brilliant. Craig, if Alonso did turn us down for Madrid, how would you feel about it? Also, if you had to pick Alonso or Klopp, who would you go for and why? If he did turn us down, how would I feel about it? Not as angry as maybe some other people would, because he was always going to look to Madrid at some point in his career, just as he'll probably look to Bayern at some point, because they're clubs that he's represented with distinction. And, you know, it is a huge lure for somebody that's been there and played and that is Spanish. So I wouldn't really care, is the honest answer. But to see him go and manage elsewhere in the Premier League when we're struggling, I'd struggle with. But that's not on him, that would be on us. And Alonso or Klopp, who would I want back? Klopp. I think ultimately, if you dangle Klopp in front of me as a fan, I'd have my own fears, but I'd want it straight away. I would. I remember the day my wife woke me up to tell me he was leaving. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it wasn't sinking in, no matter how many times she said it to me. I was coming down the stairs and turning on the computer and getting ready to stream, and I just still wasn't fucking comprehending it, exactly what was going on, because it came completely out of nowhere. And it was a tough day. It was a tough day because that man gave me everything I dreamt of as a Liverpool fan. He put the club back, led the club with absolute class and dignity, played great football, wasn't afraid to speak out, even to chastise fans if he felt it needed to, because he was doing it with the best intent in mind. And he's just an absolute leader. And somebody said before, I think it was one of the FSG people, that Jurgen could walk into any Fortune 500 company as CEO and lead it, even without knowledge of the industry. He's just a leader. And he's somebody that you want to do well for. Yeah, what a man. What a man. How do you deal with envy or jealousy of friends' success? I don't feel any. I don't know if this is you asking for advice because you feel it, or you're asking me, have I had friends who've had success that have made me envious? No, never. I don't really feel jealous as an emotion, because if somebody's my friend, I want the best for them, and that trumps everything else. Like, if you're my mate, I want you to succeed. I want you to do well in life. I want you to live your best life. I want you to have a life full of love and happiness. So, I don't know, mate, because I've never felt jealous of a friend. I've only ever felt proud of a friend that's done well. Um, so yeah, honestly, I don't know, because I'm not a really jealous type of person. Um, when it comes to stuff like that, I haven't. I'd never begrudge anybody anything. I want everybody to live their best lives and put their best foot forward. Craig, imagine being over 40 points ahead of Man United last season, spend 450 million this summer, and be behind them this year. Yeah, and be beaten by them twice, and be beaten by City 3 times, I think, in the one season. Um, yeah. Abdul, mate, come on. Like, this stupid cry shit. No one's crying, bro. We're talking about our football club. I mean, you're probably about 10, but I wish you had a chance, Abdul, to interact with you properly, mate. But there's nobody crying here about the game with United. Where, as you would be as a fan, pissed off the way our club is and the direction of it. But, those type of comments are just silly. LFC Spectre. So I remember Klopp called out James Pearce in a press conference in front of his mates. Yeah, but he got that wrong. I think he called out Pearce for a comment that wasn't actually from James Pearce. If I remember the situation correctly, I don't think it was actually James Pearce that said it. Oh, wow. We're miles ahead. So Liverpool YouTube fan channels net public views for 2026, and we are so far out in front that it's yeah, I'm very proud. This just got sent to me, the Liverpool fan channel net public views, where we're flying. Just, I think, if I'm not mistaken, our numbers, you could add up every other channel on that list together and we'd still be ahead. But that that makes me very proud and very grateful to you guys for that support. Sorry, this is just a number that was just sent to me there a second ago. Yeah, wow, that's cool. Bilal said, Craig, I want to marry you. We'll have to ask the missus, mate. I'm not sure if my wife would be happy with that. But if she's up for it, sure, I'm up for it, bro. You know what I mean? Craig, who would be available if Slot gets sacked next season? I don't know. Because this feels like a summer where there will be a churn of managers. There will be some names out there that are available. And then if you go into next season, well, you've either got people who are taking a career break, maybe, or somebody who gets sacked from a club that's underperforming. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Look, today was a weird one because we lost the game, and I'm, of course, disappointed in that. But at least we didn't lose it without a fight. And that, I guess, is some type of progress, because when we went 2-0 down, we could have felt sorry for ourselves and that game could have gotten even further away from us. And they didn't. So I want to give the players some credit for that, for being able to push on and at least fight for the badge. That certainly showed a bit of spirit there today. Disappointing how it ended. Credit to Kobe Mainoo for a good goal, and credit to United for their win. But yeah, it just feels like even on a day where the players did show that bit of spirit and fight, results still didn't go in a positive sense for us, and that's a tough one. Where did this earn 10 pence is equal to 19 losses come from? For the record, as far as I know, 17, now 18. So I was wondering about this, Mike, earlier as well. And the only thing I can think of, mate, is that whoever's counting the 19 is adding in the final loss in the Community Shields to Palace as a loss. Now, I wouldn't count it. So for me, it's 18, like you've said. But yeah, that's where I think it comes from, because we actually did go back and count the results just to make sure, and it was 18 on my count, but that wasn't including the League Cup. Craig, threesome. Oh no, I couldn't disappoint two people, Bilal. Now I know we said with the marriage you said, but a threesome that's different, mate. Disappointing one person is enough for me. Biggie Mal said you always include us in yours and Connor's success because you are the reason for our success. Simple as that. Without you guys being the incredible support network to us that you are and believing us and showing up and every night, the channel wouldn't be anywhere. So we'll always know what side our bread is buttered on, and we're always very grateful for your time and for letting us into your lives and for coming on this journey with us. It means so much to us both, and we'll always work hard to make sure that we represent you guys as honestly and as best as we can. Simple as. I'm so grateful for the platform you've given us. On paper, we're better than Man United, but we're not getting the best out of the players. Carrick got the best out of his team. That's Arne Slot's fault because he needs to get the best out of the players. Agreed, mate. Agree. Yeah, and that's one thing you've got to give Carrick credit for. He's not reinvented the coaching manual, but he's put belief into his players and, again, found a way to harness the energy of Old Trafford rather than it being an intimidating thing. And yeah, fair play to him for that. Craig, who'll be our backup left back next season? Knowing Robbo's off. I don't understand the Costas thing. I understand it. It's because FSG are cheap. That's the answer. There is no other answer. There's no way of saying that a guy who you'd already said a year ago wasn't good enough is suddenly good enough. So the answer is cheapness. Who should it be? It depends what you want from a left back. If you want to go for more experience, you can look to somebody like Raum. You could look to somebody like Anthony. Anthony Robinson from Fulham. Or you could go down the younger route. I don't know, but what's weird about it is Costas will come in, do a year, and then disappear again on a free. And we still won't have brought in any money for the clever people that want to bring in money. So all it's doing is kicking the can down the road a year. Wharton is overpriced. Give me Tonali, João Gomez from Wolves. The only thing I can tell you about João Gomez is that Atletico Madrid have reached out to Wolves over a deal. I'm not sure if they've come to an agreement or not or anything, but they're certainly in communication over a deal. A couple of people shouting for David Raum there in the chat. I just don't know much about him, to be honest, folks, so I wouldn't be able to say yay or nay on that one. Individual brilliance, no doubt, but from a stupid pass, not from a passage of play or a good team goal. Yeah, Chris, that's right. United were their own architect to their own downfall there today to get us back to 2-2. And we did capitalise on those chances, so fair play in that. But yeah, just, I felt at 2-2, like if there was a winner in that game, it was probably going to be us. But Kobe Mainoo stepped up with a great strike on the edge of the box to settle the tie. And yeah, fair play. It's just another tough one to take. Right, I'm going to say goodnight, ladies and gents. Thank you again, and sincerely so much for everything, for all of your support, for all your comments, for all of your time. Yeah, I appreciate it. It means more than you'll ever know. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Myself and Connor are going to record a little podcast, just the two of us tomorrow. That'll be out tomorrow night. Connor will be here in the morning with a video. I'll be back in the early evening with a video, and then a late night agenda tomorrow night. But honestly, from all of us at Anfield Agenda, thank you so much for all you do. Don't forget as well to enter our giveaway. We're giving away your choice of any of those Robbie Fowler shirts, signed and framed, completely free. To enter, all you have to do is scan the QR code there on the screen. This is our May giveaway with thanks to our great friends at thecollectorscorner.co.uk. And if you want to treat yourself to something from their site, you can get 20% off by using the code Anfield Agenda 1 at checkout. And again, thank you so much to them for their support and to you guys for your support, and to Keane and the moderators as well. Thank you to you all for your help today.